Love, light, and blessings. Shamanic at Work Priestess here, and I thought I would start a new series. Trying to make sure this doesn't shake because I hate shaky cameras. And this is going to be my new series. Okay, so I'm going to continue the paranormal series, guys, but this is my new series, and it's pretty much the adventures of a psychic reader on a hotline. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, yes, I have my own website. I am self-employed. I have a beautiful spiritual business that I've been very blessed with, and my spiritual business is full-time. So this is my main source of income and things like that. And I thought, what better than to wear my star card, the star t-shirt, my tarot t-shirt, and my tarot earrings. So you have the sun card and the moon card and the star card. I just like, yeah, let's do that, because it's going to be like episode 1 of my adventures as a psychic reader on a hotline. Because before I went professional 3 years ago on my own and made my own website, I made my own channel, because my channel is literally 3 years old as of June. So I came into YouTube in 2017. So it's been 3 years, guys. And 3 years ago, I made my website. So pretty much the first video that I made was the first day that I launched my own website. The first year I was still reading on the Psychic Hotline part-time and reading on my own website part-time, because I didn't have enough clientele to just solely focus on my business. So I was on the hotlines for 4 years. I'm not going to say what hotline I was in, because I had to legally use a different name for my business, because when you work for a psychic hotline, pretty much they own your name. Even though the name I created it myself, you're not allowed to advertise yourself outside of the website. So even if you're someone who owns your own business or is trying to start your own tarot business on your own, you're not allowed to advertise that you do readings outside the website. Even if people recognize you, you're not really allowed to answer those questions, because there are penalties to that. So that's another reason why I'm Shamanic at Work Priestess. I do not use the same name as I did when I was working that hotline, even though both names have been given to me by my spirit guides. And so when I was working in the psychic hotline, I had really good experiences and I had a few bad experiences, but more good experiences than bad. I was watching a video of someone that I love her channel. I might link that video here, I might not, I don't know, but she pretty much had a very negative experience reading on psychic hotlines and realized that wasn't something that was for her. And a lot of people say they've had bad experiences working professionally on a psychic hotline, but there are those of us, and I think that's another, like, I was already going to make this series, but I even felt more so to do it because, and I was really, I had commented on her video and she was very nice about it. She was like, well, I'm glad your experiences were positive, because I didn't want to come off as like, well, you didn't have positive experience, nana kind of thing, because working on a psychic hotline is brutal and it's very hard and it's very, 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 very challenging. Okay, it will literally test you to the core, but I don't regret my experiences on it. It's made me the reader that I am today. So I come from a line of very powerful spiritual women who were readers, who read professionally, who read for the public. Of course, back then it was in person, in the home. People would come to your home all times of the day. You would do rituals and all these kinds of things for clients, so on and so forth. So that's what would happen. That's what would happen. So yeah, so that's, that was the experience that I grew up in. In my first year, when I started reading tarot for the public, I not only read with friends and for myself when I was learning tarot, how to, work the system. I started to take on clients very, very cheap, not a lot because I was new. I'm not going to charge a bunch of money when I barely have any experience. I wanted more the experience of reading others and things like that. So I would do face-to-face reads, things of that nature. It's not my thing for the sense of I really don't like people in my house with my kids. I'm a firm believer in energy, and some people come in there with their energy, and your kids have to be in their room or whatever. They can't walk around freely in the home, and I kind of don't like people in my personal space like all the time. And then people don't respect, like, oh, I don't do readings after a certain time. They're still knocking on your window, knocking on your door, being annoying. You'll have people that try to get free services out of you with their sob stories, and you're like, no, you have to pay for the reading or whatever. So it was annoying. So I did that for like a year, then kind of stopped doing that. And I even stopped telling people that I read professionally, because people would literally try to friend you just to get free readings out of you. And I don't give friends free readings. That's just, I don't care who you are. Even my kids in some way tried to pay for it because they were raised to see it as a gift, and you should always pay people for their gifts and for their work. So they'll do like extra chores, things like that. So because I've taught my kids to value spiritual services, that's how we do it in my culture. So so after that first year, I was going through a hard times. So one in my family had like an illness that could actually kill you. And I was going through a test of faith, and I started going online because I didn't want to go to a physical reader. And when I was Googling, I came up upon a bunch of sites. The one that attracted me was a certain site that offered live readings. So you would see, like the way I am on camera right now, they would have like a live feed, and you get to physically see your reader. So it's the same way as when you're at home. The only thing is you're not physically with that person, but it feels more genuine to me. Like I want to see the reader's face, I don't care about them showing me cards or not, because I'm not always showing all my cards either. Like I read on the side. I don't show spreads. I don't take pictures of spreads. They didn't do that either. I kind of just like to get to the point of a reading, like that. Like, so they did time sessions. They did live readings. I had like 2 shitty readings. Like they were like, yo, you're not psychic. You literally bought a deck of cards and just called yourself a reader. Ew. So then the third person that I tried, she was amazing. And she was accurate. I loved her reading style. And I remember one of the first things that she said to me was, you're psychic. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I feel like you could read yourself. Like, the answers to these questions. And I was like, and quiet. And she's like, you need to like apply for the site, because they're looking for psychics, and I feel like you're one of the few like this actually legit psychic, right? And I didn't think anything of it. I kept reading with this person. All their predictions were happening, and she gave time frames and all this kinds of stuff, and she only used one deck right away. At the time, I didn't know that was right away, because I had a reading when I was 25. It was an in-house reading, and the lady was good. But I like this whole internet thing, because I don't have to go into anybody's home. Nobody has to see me going into the psychic's house, because back then I was kind of struggling with the whole still having that Christian fear of, I'm going to go to hell because I got a reading from a psychic. And so, yeah, so she became my reader. And then eventually I was like, you know what? Maybe. So I ended up, my daughter was a baby infant, and I was going through so much stuff within my marriage, all these kinds of things. And with the other 2 readers, the reason why I said they were shitty, they were too busy lecturing me on why do you want to save this relationship and why blah 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 blah. And I was like, I didn't pay you to judge me. I paid you for some damn answers. So I already knew from then on that type of reading I don't like judgment readings. I don't like people acting like they're better and holier than thou. It's like, no. You know what I mean? Like, you're wasting my time. And the other one took too long. Like, they were just so long to do so many things to connect. I'm like, dude, you should have been like connected the moment you logged in here. Like, you're wasting my coins. You answered very few questions in the time, and you're expensive. So they didn't like that. This one was like quick, 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 let's go. And so I ended up applying for the site. And then I had to get like upgraded internet, things like that. They had to test my broadband and all this stuff. And then we had to read like this manual that they have, and then they do a test reading. So they check to see if like you can actually give a reading, if the reading is accurate. They have different owners now, so I can't really say they do that anymore. I haven't been associated with this site in the last 2 years, so I've heard not so many positive things right now, but it was a different site then. They had different owners, in my opinion, more ethical owners that actually felt like they actually believed in psychics. And I feel like the new people, it's more about the money, right? So when I did the reading, I was so nervous. I had bought the psychic tarot because I was like very afraid to use the Rider-Waite-Smith when I saw the devil card. I had bought my Robin Woods, my psychic tarot of the heart, and I think I had like Doreen Virtue's like Romance of the Angels or something. So those are like my 3 little babies right there. And for years I've worked with very few decks. So I did, like, the whole time that I was on the psychic hotline, I used very few decks. And then when we were in the chat, because you get to chat with your reader before you would book them, I would do a 1-card pull of, you know, Doreen Virtue was the only one I knew, so it would either be like Romance Angels or Daily Guidance, Doreen Virtue Daily Guidance, things like that, you know, like older decks, or Healing with the Angels or something. And that was good because people would be like, oh my God, that, you know, that card pull was accurate, and then they'll take me and they'll pay for a private session. So I did the testing when I was doing my first reading. The person that I was reading, because you don't know who it is, all you see is a screen name. There's no face. There's no preset questions. You're reading right then and there on the spot. I loved it. Like, I just went with it with my little psychic tarot. I showed the little cards, you know, and he was like, that was amazing. He's like, I just need you to be a little faster. He goes, but, you know, I was actually asking you real questions, and that was like a really good reading. Like, it was really accurate. And he's like, I'm going to actually pay you for the reading. And I was like, oh. So I thought that was normal. When I talked to other readers, they're like, we never got paid for the test reading. He actually loved my reading so much, he actually paid me for it. So I was like, wow. So they started me off at 99 cents. And you know, the site, they get 50%. So I was getting 50 cents a minute. I remember, you only get paid if somebody books you. So a lot of times it's a smart thing to do, because when people see you at such a lower rate, they're more likely to test read with you, like to take you, because they're like, hey, it's one of the cheaper readers, let me see if this person's good. So I remember I had to set my profile pictures. My daughter took like professional pictures of me. You write your profile, you know, things like that. With that experience, I learned how to advertise myself. I would look at other people's profiles and be like, how can I stand out? I've had readings with other readers. What do I like from such and such person? What don't I like from such and such person? And I created my own style. And I remember when I first got on there, as soon as I got on there and I was doing like card pulls and, you know, having the conversations, to this day, I still have the same client. I will always remember, she knows who she is, the first person that ever took me for a reading. And I remember the second person who took me for a reading, because to this day, she's still a client of mine. So all these years later, they're still a client of mine. Okay, I have clients that go back 8 years that followed me from there to, you know, they just found me somehow. I don't know how. They just like, we found you. What's up, these meant to be is meant to be, and followed me into the my website. And I remember, like, I kind of liked the time session thing. I liked it because it really helped with my speed. Like, I know that the other video I was watching, they were saying how they got all these bad reviews. I didn't. Like, from the first reading that I ever did, the clients loved me. The only negative review I ever got there was one time, and I was new, and she was like, her reading was amazing, I just wish she was a little faster. That's it. I took it hard. The little fast, it was just a little fast. It wasn't even rude. It was the only negative comment I got, and that just made me like practice my speed, you know, and do test readings outside. And I learned to read quickly. I learned to connect quickly. And I learned to read pure energy, because there's a difference between reading yourself, reading your friends, and even doing an in-person reading. When there's no visualization of the other person on the other side, you're only seeing a name, like a email name, you know, a screen name. You don't even know the gender of the person you're reading. You know what I mean? So when I found that the best way that I connect with people, I just ask them their first name. I don't need your date of birth, your astrological sign. What's the last time you saw this person? No, no, no. Like, I learned how to channel the thoughts of others, to connect really deep in the past, present, and future, time frames, all that stuff. I really learned how to hone in on my psychic abilities and my gifts through that experience. I honestly do not regret it. I became one of their top rated psychics. When like other people will be on free chat for hours on end, literally I was always on busy mode, because people would take me back to back, back to back. Within 24 hours of working there, because you have to do a certain amount of readings before you can raise your rate to whatever you want, the site automatically raised my rate from 99 cents to $1.49 within 24 hours, which was very unheard of. And I got a $500 bonus, because they've never had a new reader do so many readings within her first day of being hired. I broke records back then. So yeah, so I did really well. You know, I was able to, at the time that I did started reading, I was going through that first year through a separation, a relocation type of situation. Within those 3 years, I was able to support my 4 children, my youngest from my second marriage, and my other children from my first marriage, on my own. And since I've been a professional reader, it's been my main source of income. I know that some people have full-time jobs and they'll read tarot on the side, which I think is like amazing. I went into it professionally from day one as a full-time. That's what I love about the psychic hotlines. If you find one that you like, they're so good for single parents, so everybody's situation is different. I was able to work nights because they have clients on that site 24/7. I had a lot of international clients because of that reason, because I couldn't work daytimes. I had an infant. I was breastfeeding. I had, younger children to take care of, a special needs child. So it wouldn't be plausible for me to do readings in the daytime. And I love that you can literally log in there and come on whenever you want and work and, do your 3, 4, 5 hours and out. And then they paid you like every 2 weeks and things like that. Eventually I was able to get out of Section A. And pay my own rent. I was able to get off food stamps. Now, I'm not knocking anybody else, but yes, I was able to get myself off public assistance by being a professional reader. After a while, I started to feel a little bit of a stagnation. By the 3rd year, they had gotten bought over by a different company, and that's when I started to notice like they weren't defending the readers as much, and they took a bigger pay cut. So it went from 50%, they started taking 70%. And even though I was making more money, as you become more popular, and I had to charge prices that I wasn't comfortable with charging, but I didn't know like you can go into business by yourself. I didn't know YouTube. I didn't know there was readers that had their own websites. I'm thinking like, well, you could either read in the house or you have to read for a hotline. And I remember the Archangel Oracle cards by Dawn Virtue. I kept getting Archangel Shamuel, and the card was about career transitions, and I kept getting mad. Like, I read the book, like, what do you mean I'm getting fired or I'm leaving my job? Like, I would never do that. Like, how am I going to sustain my kids? And it was like that that 2nd year going into the 3rd year, I kept getting that over and over and over again. So I put the deck where I was mad at it. It was a stalker card. And I started getting more into Rider-Waite-Smith in that 3rd year that I was working there, and I kept getting the 5 of Pentacles, like, you're going to be leaving. 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Pentacles, I'm like, what is this already? Stop it, So I'm freaking out thinking I'm gonna get fired because you were working more for less pay. And I was like, well, I didn't like that, you know. I had moved away from my ex because it was just not a good situation. And that was after I told you guys about the police brutality thing and all that stuff. Like, that was the final straw. Like, I moved away. I was like, it's not gonna work. We were so on and off the 4 years we were together, with a lot of drama, put it that way. So I was like, you know what? I moved away to the part of Pennsylvania I'm in now, and I was working on that my first year of living in this apartment. I remember I had like nothing. I started from like no furniture. I would stay at a friend's house because I was there on their sofa, and so I bought little by little my furniture and things like that, because again, you were working more and you were getting paid less. So if you were getting 50%, I could work less. So it was really stressful. And then I discovered YouTube, and I remember the first channel I discovered was Kelly and Truth and Story. And I was watching her deck walkthroughs. So when I was ready to like have a bigger collection, I would watch her walkthroughs and things like that. And I decided, you know what? I've never, because I didn't know a lot of, nobody ever talks about fortune telling on YouTube. And I started to see this trend about like people putting fortune telling down or not believing in it or feeling like it took away your free will. But I come from a culture like that's not the case. Like, we look at psychics as something of an honor, the word fortune telling as something of an honor, as something you should pay for, as the chosen people or whatever, you know what I mean, as an elder, as a priestess, you know, those titles mean something, right? And I will stand by always saying not everybody's psychic, and I know that that bothers people, but it's true. Just like not everybody could sing professionally, not everybody's a psychic. We could all be intuitive, but there's a difference between being a psychic, being a reader, being intuitive. It just is, and I'm gonna stand by that. You know me, I'm always controversial, right? So, and not everybody's meant to be professionally. Like, there's people like this is a calling for them, and then there's people that they're like, you know what, I realized I don't really want to do it. You know what I mean? So, and that's fine too. Like, there's nothing wrong with being someone who just someone who reads for themselves and learns divination for themselves. Like, I think that's very wonderful. And however you use your deck of cards or any form of divination is yours. Like, I feel like there's a place for everything. There's a place for non-predictive readings. There's a place for spiritual, you know, just spiritual readings and spiritual messages. And there's a place for fortune tellers and people that tell the future. Now, I do that too, but I'm also a spiritual counselor because I do counsel people. I do have a degree in counseling, so I can legally counsel people, and I do that too, but just through spirituality. So I do many types of readings, energy readings, those types of things, mediumship, channeling, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of my business is fortune telling, okay? And I'm proud of that, and channeling the thoughts of others and doing third-party readings and all that kind of stuff, and giving predictions. So I was annoyed when I would try to talk about it in free chats and people would shut me down. So I was like, you know what? I was talking to Diane Jarecki. She doesn't have a channel on YouTube anymore, but and she was like, I think, you know, because I already had the heart that I was going to make a website and I was going to make a channel, and she kind of reaffirmed that, like, I think you should. I was like, yeah, that's what I was about to do. So we had that conversation, and then that day I did a VR to a video she did, which is still on my channel, and it's a VR to Diane Jarecki. And I did that, and then I started explaining myself, and you know, I wasn't as my speaking skills weren't as developed as they are now, and the whole YouTube thing and better background and all that, you know, because I was coming into it. But I felt good, and from day one I advertised myself, because I got those skills from the psychic hotline, you know what I mean? And then by the second year of being on this channel, so my second year here, I was able to completely leave the psychic hotline. So I was no longer working part-time. I didn't have to work on it at all because I was able to build a client base. And then, you know, now I'm in my third year, and where it was 2 years ago, you know, or that first year is tripled. You know, it just continues to grow. But I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I really feel like my experiences on the psychic hotline was what gave me the ability to be the reader that I am today. Had I not had that background, my whole reading style would be different. I learned what people seek readings for, and the majority of them seek it for fortune telling. And I think that's why I don't look down. And I notice people like, oh, you know, try to trivialize, or I don't like to answer those type of questions and that kind of thing. And I'm very humble because, and I tell people when they're reading, sometimes we have a messy life, and I'm like, I don't judge anybody because I've been in some mess myself. I don't read people through the lenses of a guru, or, you know, ooh, yes, look at me and my psychic orbs. You know, I read from a humble standpoint because I've been through it all. You know, the competitive vibe on the psychic hotline gave me that survivor instinct. Like, how would you stand out? Because you're literally competing with thousands of readers. So for you to have that type of clientele and to be busy and things like that, many of us weren't. You know, I was. I had a lot of hate. I had to learn how to spiritually protect myself. I had to learn how to be the hermit, because you'll have readers that literally would throw darker, evil, malicious magic at you. Even somebody outside the camera. In one of my readings, when I first started, this, and I'll use the word gentleman lightly, was a reader. He took me on as a thing, but I had a feeling he was a reader on the site. You know what I mean? Like my abilities were tingling, and he literally threw a demonic, low-level spirit, because I felt it. He started talking in these tongues. He turned on his camera. It was like his eyes were so dark, like the pupils were so dilated. I was like, this guy's possessed with like a really low-level spirit. So I ended the reading. I reported him to the administration and things like that, and I went to one of my spiritual advisors, one of my mentors, and said, there is an entity in my home, and she taught me how to take it out. That's why to this day I do exorcism for people. I know what it's like to have that type of energy in the home. Literally was making my light bulbs like go, like turn off by themselves. Doors were opening and closing. That happens to me now, but it's okay when it's my spirits and I know they're good spirits, and it's different when you know it's like an evil you know, spirit that wants to actually do harm, you know. So that kind of bothered me. But, you know, I've been through it, done that, bought the t-shirt. Like I said, like I've been through some really amazing experiences. So this series is going to be called the Genesis, kind of like how I got into the psychic hotlines, and like I said, the good and the bad and the ugly. While I had that horrible reading where they try to cast evilness on me, that's why to this day I have mirrors in the background, and they're blessed, and my crucifix up there, and all that kind of stuff. And I wear all my protective jewelry is because I've had people do that. But that one was the most traumatic one. Well, second, there was another reader. She sent like a spiritual blob. It was like, it looked like a gray cloud. And another reader that I used to talk to back then, that happened to her the same day. She called me and I was like, that happened to me too. So I did what I had to do magically, and let's just say she apologized and paid me to take the spirit away, because I sent that back, and I sent some extra buddies. Okay, so yeah, because once I learned how to protect myself, good to go. And then her grandmother, she did a ritual, because she's from India, and her family, she was born in Trinidad, but her family is actually originally from India. There are Indians in from India in Trinidad. So, and she practiced like her Indian magic, and she did a ritual, very powerful magic, and pretty much that person sent, you know, that person, she cleansed her granddaughter. And then I said, I'll send some things back. So I did, because I'm okay. I work both the right and the left. I have no problem with that when it comes to defending myself or those that I care about. But yeah, so that was an ugly experience. But I had more good experiences. Like one lady, I remember I was in the free chat, and she just kept being there, and I just was reading her energy and just looking at her screen name and reading her energy and reading her energy and reading her energy. And I was like, she's like, I don't even know what I'm doing here, because I was waiting for her to say something. And then I just was like, you're here because you tried to commit suicide. I see a vision of you grabbing a bottle of Tylenol and questioning whether you want to take them all. I said, But I asked this person first. I said, can I say what I'm picking up? She's like, yeah, I don't even believe in this anyways. And I just started reading her. And I said, you just lost your spouse, or like a significant partner in your life. And she was like, yes. And she's like, oh my God, I'm crying. And she pressed the button and she took me private, and we had this really amazing reading and beautiful things for her future. And she was like, you literally gave me like the hope to live. I feel like God talked through you, because I don't believe in psychics, but like, you know. And she was a believer. Like, my favorite, most powerful readings have been with skeptics. I've had, you can see it on my website. Oh, I don't really know if I believe in it. Like, recently somebody wrote a review, because I always read the reviews when people post them, that they really didn't believe in psychics and really didn't want to ask questions. And when I just started, you know, channeling and stuff, they were like, wow, you know. And they literally left me a 5-star review. You know, I have made skeptics believe in fortune telling, in that there are some people that can actually go behind that veil and see into the future, and help to create the future, the possible outcomes, and empower you in ways that you can change the outcomes that you don't want, or the ones that cannot be changed. Because sometimes we have to go through certain life lessons because we know they're going to happen. We can mentally and emotionally prepare ourselves in the way that we want to handle that. So fortune telling never takes away your power, because whether you can change the outcome and you can come up with ways of changing something you don't like, or if something is inevitable, how can you cope with an upcoming situation? By getting a heads up, you can emotionally prepare yourself, do that shadow work, and be better prepared to face the more challenging times. So it does not take away from your power. It actually empowers you to feel like, okay, what can I do? Because no matter what kind of situation, we always have some type of control. I feel that when people say that fortune telling takes away your power, I feel like they don't really know, no offense, what they're talking about. Unless you're someone who actually does it, you don't understand it. I'm sorry. Like, I've never seen it in that way, you know. I feel like we need to start respecting the diversity, the cultural diversity. To a lot of people, fortune telling is part of their culture. There's someone right now on YouTube that practices Italian folk magic, and she's a fortune teller. You know what I mean? And to her culture, that's a real thing. And you know what I mean? So we have different cultures. You know, there's more than just the United States or a westernized way of thinking, and we need to be open to that. Whether that's something you don't believe in, that's fine. You don't have to. But be open to knowing that just because somebody says I'm a fortune teller does not automatically mean they are a scam. There are those that scam people, but there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that have that gift, and why not share that gift with the world? Because it's not a gift that everybody has. You know what I mean? Being able to understand divination is a gift. It's a skill, you know. So yeah, so you know, readings like that, readings where I've read people that are married and that person hasn't had an affair yet, but I'm seeing someone and trying to come between the marriage, and I'm letting them know, hey, you know, there's some things you need to work on in this relationship. And those people coming back, oh my God, you saved my marriage, or you saved my relationship, or thank you for letting me know, like, don't trust this person with my child. And you know, these things, or a past loved one just coming through naturally in a reading, or you know, any of those things. Like, I had amazing experiences on the hotline. Like I said, it's made me who I am today. I love the diverse cultures that I got to read. People from the Middle East, people from Africa. I mean, I had clients from Egypt, all over the world, the United States, you know, all these kinds of things. And it just really, really was a positive and beautiful experience. It's just that I outgrew it. I'm like stuttering because I get excited. I outgrew the that type of setup, because there was a lot of spiritual services that I felt, because it was time sessions and things, I will be limited in doing my candle work and my root work and things like that. I really couldn't charge for that. Like, you only really do readings or like Reiki, and that I don't do Reiki, so I'm a different type of healer, and I didn't want to have the restrictions of when they say like the client chooses a package. And then so I like, when I came onto my own website, I said, okay, what do I want to do on here that's different? So I kept the time sessions because I love those. But then I also have like the shamanic healing services. I started taking on spell work client because I was already doing that with my in-person clients, and things like that. Like I was already doing work for other people. I've been in this path for 15 years. I've been doing work for other people for a long time, but not in the magnitude that I was able to do once I went professional, and and word of mouth and things like that. So I loved having a channel where I could freely talk about topics. I feel like, once I left the site, I got to be more of my authentic self. So after around the first year of creating videos, I felt more like me. My channel started to grow within that second year, and then look at it where it's now. That first year was hard because I was trying to like find an audience, and I was trying to assimilate in the beginning. And then when I started just being more myself and stop worrying about what other people think and things like that, I really started to see the numbers growing and more people discovering me when this first. So like, be yourself, be yourself. So I created the Orisha series, and that started drawing people to me. I was like, I want to be who I am, and I wasn't able to have that creative freedom in the psychic hotline. However, I would like to make a series that wants to share some of the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I literally feel like if you are thinking of being a professional reader, it's the psychic hotline isn't for everybody, but it is a good way to really build up that psychic abilities if you have them, and it will test your emotions. You're not always going to have positive people, but I have this thing where like, even when people are negative, I could turn it into a positive, right? So like I said, I had one bad experience in the 3 years I've gone professional on my own, and maybe like a handful of negative experiences on the site. So yeah. All right guys, so that's it for this video, this long video, but I hope you guys will enjoy this series and things like that. So much love, much light, much blessings. Bye.